In the final two chapters of the book, in chapter 11 to be specific, I actually take a detour to examine the initial planning and development of a new city a few kilometers from Harare, where the new parliament is located.
Yes, yeah.
I try to analyze the intellectual and the political thought and decisions underpinning this city. And I did this by looking at concept plans, correspondence, initial infrastructure developments, and amongst others. And finally, in the last chapter, I summarize the crucial factors that spur the growth of the city over time. And my arguments are premised on a set of strategies that are essential for the city of Harare now and in the next century. Essentially, this is because in the post-2000 era, the city is facing unique challenges characterized by antagonistic relations between the center and the local, and also the associated and coordinated peri-urban developments.
Oh, interesting. You know what? When I got the news about the book, it got me thinking of a previous book that we actually launched on the series, which was written by Professor Jennifer Hart. She's chairing the Department of History at the University of Virginia. So she has a new book that is also entitled The Making of an African City. But the focus of that book was on the development of Accra in Ghana. And one of the important themes we see, in these kinds of works and discourses is that the development of these African cities was very much influenced by the political changes that were happening over time. Particularly an important theme that comes up is that of colonialism and independence. These cities, the way they were designed during colonialism was specifically meant to achieve certain purposes. And with the coming of independence, it's new changes, and the cities have to meet again another set of changes. So that's something that I find to be very important from a historical perspective. But you have touched on so many issues that I've seen are going to be very helpful to students of so many disciplines. Rural and urban planning, I can see development studies. This is quite a variety of them. I understand that when you were writing this book, you had a target audience in mind. We might have our own audience in mind, which we think the book appeals to, but I do know that you had a target audience in mind. Who do you think is going to benefit the most if he or she is going to get access to this book?
Okay. I think this book is essential reading, in particular for policymakers and planners and city administrators, students, ordinary people, and built environment professionals. I need to underline ordinary people, largely because when you read the book is not theoretical. The book is more about a practical in terms of the key lessons. Even the style, it's a non-technical style. And that was deliberate because I wanted a lot of people to actually have access and to read the book and understand the book in terms of its central arguments and in terms of the lessons that it provides. That is why in the last chapter, I actually focus on practical considerations that any city administration in Harare could prioritize. I actually conclude the book with 8 key lessons that could drive the city in the next century. And perhaps I will just enumerate them, the key lessons that I conclude the book with. First is that the authorities, they have to enforce plans, regulations, and control development. The difference between a city and a rural area or a village is that in a village, you can wake up and conduct any kind of development that you want without permits, without any regulations, without standards, amongst others. But in a city, we need to enforce the plans and the regulations and control development. Secondly, I propose that there is need to set robust policy objectives that actually guide city growth. To an earlier point that you have indicated about the political interests, when I look at some of our cities, what I see is that largely, by and large, one can argue that the political objectives of urban policy has actually been met over time. But I think the next hurdle in terms of in terms of city development, actually socio-economic objectives of urban policy. This is exemplified by the fact that in most of our cities in Africa, south of Sahara, you see that there's a lot of informal employment, there's a lot of unemployment amongst the others. So urban policy going forward, I think it needs to primarily focus on meeting the economic objectives. 3, I focus on how can we use land to steer urban growth. And if you see, like in our case, the largest land holdings are the city of Harare and national government in terms of state land. And when you see the growth of Harare over time, even in the 1930s or so, when Highfield was built, Highfield was built on a state-owned farm. That was actually given by the national government to the city to say you need to house people. So I'm saying that going forward, we should be able to use the land that we have as a key resource in shaping the growth of our cities going forward. That said, we also need to be flexible on planning standards and regulations because things change over time. So over time, we should be able to change our zoning regulations. We should be able to change our minimum housing and construction standards amongst others. This should never be static. And perhaps the most important lesson in this book is that the national government and the city of Harare, they must collaborate.
Yes.
We saw it earlier on that prior to 2000, we witnessed the best days of the city of Harare in terms of development and everything. But after that, I think the tensions between the center and the local, they are actually at the detriment of the growth of the city. I also argue in the book to say that if you look at Harare, it generates between 34 and 38% of the country's GDP, which means that if you want to grow the country's economy, you should be able to focus on Harare as well, because you know that about 40% of the GDP is coming from Harare anyway. The other lesson that I focus on is actually putting citizens at the center of shaping city growth. If you look at from the first municipal council in 1897 up to now, you can see a defined role of citizens. It's not just about elections alone. It's not just about paying tariffs and levies, amongst others, but it is also about organizing on the part of our ordinary citizens. So that if we organize in our neighborhoods, in our streets, in our communities, in our wards, to be able to articulate our issues, to use these local level community, formal or informal organizations as an interface with our engaging with our authority. The last 2 lessons that I focus on is that we need to promote a robust council decision-making processes. Because a city council is just like another entity, another company, or another big company. The robustness of its decision-making processes is actually critical. From the departments, the reports that are produced by heads of departments, to council committees, to the full council. This is a very, very important decision-making chain within our council, and it has to be supported. And the final lesson is that we need to always pursue institutional reforms to adapt to a changing environment. If you look at the configuration of the city of Harare in 1980, in 2000, and now, it's completely different. And now we are living in an age of technology, amongst others. All those things, they need to be reflected in the institutional setup of the city. And I think, to conclude, when you look at these are practical things that if someone reads the book, they can, when they finish the book, they can pick 1 or 2 things or key practical considerations. That they can take when they are going to council chambers to discuss amongst others.
That is very true. This is excellent, Dr. Muchadenyika. I'm very much happy to have heard you, viewers and listeners. Those of you who would want to get a copy of this book, please do not forget to click the link that is right in the description panel on the upload for this video. Citizens of Zimbabwe, citizens of Africa, citizens of the world, this is going to be an important book for you, so please do not forget to buy it. Dr. Muchadenyika, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for the discussion. Thanks.
I'm really grateful to have heard you. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, take care.
Wonderful.